Hello and welcome to the session. Now let us move forward and also try to understand a little bit more about the framework. Now let us see what is this global object. Okay, so in the global object, I have put all the global objects which is required, to hold some global values. For example, where is the Excel file path and SQLite connection, the database connection, WebDriver, and the global hash map. So this is the HM global data. So this is the hash map which will store all the keys and values which are coming from the Excel. So from the Excel, whatever there in the config part, this config part, and whatever is there in the page object, that will be stored as a key value in this particular hash map always. Okay, there's only one hash map, and which is the global hash map, and every function will be using this only. Now this some variables about the file handling, WebDriver weight, and this is the object for the robot class and some other things. Now let us see this fixture processor. So fixture processor I have before all and after all. Okay, and then before test, after test. Right. So what is there in the before all? So typically there is a switch case here. So in the before all section, there is a switch case which will basically call a particular fixture processing. So report processing before all, command line parameter passing, database connection, config file, config readers, page object init. So those are the things will be called as a before all fixture. And similarly in the after all, then there will be database closure and report sending via email. As simple as that. Now we have a before test and we have after test. So what is there in the before test? Before test, there is a for loop here, uh, and it will get the parameter or Selenium. So basically, um, process Selenium parameter. So if you want to launch the browser and all, so that and all will be mentioned here. So we'll come to that, and before test and after test. After test, basically uh, reporting part and the Selenium parameter. So if you want to close the browser, that will happen here. Now, other all the others are the helper functions here. Now, let us see the test case processor. Test case processors, it will process the individual test case, right? So remember the test case processor will be called from the JUnit file in the @test annotation. So process test case. So for every test case, it will basically have a switch case, have a for loop again, and have a switch case. So again, if it is the activity or the action is create or enable or tag, this is for now don't care. And the Selenium action here, JavaScript action here, robot action here, and database action here. And of course, in future, you can expand it to API. Now, for every sizable activity or action type switch case, it will be calling the Selenium processor. Okay, process Selenium item. So what is the process Selenium item? For example, test case, let's say Selenium and navigate, right? So Selenium action, Selenium category, and action is navigate. So Selenium means it will come here and it will call the Selenium uh, process Selenium item. What is there inside it, we will see in a bit. Now this is Selenium item. This is the JavaScript, Selenium JavaScript processor. So we have different processors separately implemented here. So that is basically the key, for execution of this framework, KDD framework. For robot also I have robot processor. So this is a custom class, and there you can implement all the keywords related actual activities or actual actions. Right, database related also actions are here. So basically, SQLite prepare SQLite items. So I will have to raise a select query or any kind of a query. So that is database item, right? And now process test case, update exception details, helper functions, generate screenshots. So if I want to take a screenshot, we have seen earlier in the earlier report. So this is where the screenshot will be taken. Now let us see the individual item processor. So let us start with Selenium. Now process Selenium item, right? So now process Selenium item. Again, I have a switch case here broadly. So what is the Selenium action to be performed or activity to be performed? So navigate. So then if it is navigate, then driver dot navigate to dot a particular URL. So this is where the hash map will come into picture, which will store all the required keys and the values, right? If it is implicit wait or if it is click, so find the element and find the single element and click, right? Then click on nth element, verify element, send keys. So send keys is find the element dot send keys. Again, it's a helper function here, verify multiple items. So now this list action related items, closing the window, switching to a new window if it is a multi-window scenario. Now these are all the separate actions and their implementations for the Selenium processor. And this list is a non-exhaustive list. That means it can grow further as per your business requirement. So for demo purpose, for initial implementation, I have come up with this, I think 10 to 11 different type of actions. Okay, and now these are all the helper functions. So action item, find multiple elements, find one element, close window, launch browser. So these are all the individual helper functions. Selenium processor is done. Similarly, we have JavaScript processor. So process JavaScript item. So using JavaScript, if you want to scroll bottom, scroll down, scroll up, click, alert the handling. So that is what you can do using JavaScript, Selenium JavaScript processor. Now let us see the robot processor. So robot processor is basically a robot Java AWT class related handling. So this robot processor I'll have to initiate, and let's say if it is a robot key press, so I will have to send the backspace or whatever keys I want and close it. Now again, this depends on the individual business requirement implementation, but now I'm just showing a demo. Demo means it will send some keys. Okay, and now finally we have a SQLite or the database processor. So obviously this is specific implementation for SQLite and for specific business requirement in the test case. This may vary as per your test case, right? So what I'm doing, I'm passing a query. I'm passing the query name, basically a key value pair. So if you see here in the config section, I have, yeah, these are the SQL queries which I want to run. So this is basically a table called as ecom item in the SQL database, and I will run this query so that I'll get the username for the login. I will run this query so I will get the password for the login, and so on. So that is what is here. So this through this Excel all handling and all, it will come here as the SQL name, and actually I'll get the SQL query, process it, and get a particular database column value. Now again, as I'm saying, this may vary as per the business requirement. And also now it is a prepared statement. It can be other statement if it is a big query and so on. Now totally how is the overall how is the execution flow? So basically it will start with a XML pom.xml file. Pom.xml file will run the runner file here. Now in the runner file, first what is going to happen, it is going to use this constructor and it is going to use this parameterized provider, parameterized annotation provider. Parameterized annotation provider will read the test cases which are enabled, the test case IDs which are enabled, right? Then the annotation which is before class. So in the before class, basically the fixture related part will be executed. So this is the sequence. This is the sequence. So before all, before test case, after test cases, and so on, and then the after all section. Right. Now before all, and then before, and then actual test case. So in the actual test case, I'll have to pass the test case ID, which is enabled, right? And after that, after test and after class. right? So this is the execution. So every test case being processed. So let us go inside. It will go to the test case processor, which is test case processor. Now in the test case processor, basically again a switch case wherein for every related category of action, the particular method will be invoked. So for Selenium, for JavaScript, for robot, for database, and maybe in future for the API. So this is how it will be called. Now, so once the other formalities and other things are ready, it will actually call the direct uh, processor. So Selenium processor process Selenium item. So that is what is here, Selenium processor process Selenium item. Again, there is a switch case here where because Selenium also has multiple actions, so which action has to be performed and on which element that has to be provided, right? So process Selenium item. So item processor, global fixed fixture processor, test case processor, framework, and utility, right? Now, right. So let us do one thing. Uh, Let us run one more test case for better understanding and analyze the result. Now I will enable one more test case. So I will go here. I will disable this test case and I will enable one more test case, which is for the robot class. Or let's do for the JavaScript now. Yeah, JavaScript functionality. So I will enable this test case. So first test case is will be executed, that will be from the JavaScript. Now one more is there, which is for the robot class. So robot items are here. So robot items are here. So I will say yes, right? And there is one more test case which is for the database processing. So this is the database processing, right? So database processing, you can see it later, but two things we will see here, right? So now I will remove the test report sheet. I'll go to first sheet. I'll go to the beginning of that. I will save it. I will close it. This also I will close and let us run it. Okay, so let us run this. So one JavaScript item it has done, and now it will do a robot class. So basically it will move the robot, it will basically move the mouse pointer using robot class. Okay, so it has entered the text using the robot class, clicked on OK and finished. Two test cases are passed. Now it is sending an email. Right, so now if you see, I've received couple of emails here. So with an Excel attachment. So if you open this, it will show an Excel like this. Okay, so from where the username password has come, so that has come from the Excel config part. So let me open the Excel file again. Okay, so let us open the Excel file once again and let us see the report. So in the report, this is the report additional got created, and if I scroll down, yeah. So this JavaScript test case is executed. All the steps are passed, and the one which is for the robot. Yeah. So both test cases are executed and both are passed. So you can design remaining test cases. So for now, I'm just deleting this test report section, right? Go back to test case, save and quit. Now another thing is the logging here, the print whatever you see here. So this will create a file here called as automation logging, and there you will see the output. Now this I've copied it here for the very first test case. Now let us see the details here. So you will see this logo appearing first, and it will give the log prints basically in the date-wise format, and it will say that okay, this particular test case is disabled, and whatever is enabled that will be considered. Yeah. Now then it will start processing, doing the fixtures part. So fixtures part, it will do all the set parameter. So fixture 007, fixture 008. So that is what will appear here. Right. So if you go to fixture here, yeah, so fixture 007, 008. So every line by line, whatever fixture is there, that will be applicable, and that will be shown in the logs. So that means that that fixture is processed. Now Chrome driver has started so and so time, and other print. So now, yeah, test case execution begin for TC001. And one of the good thing here is this thing, index 003, index 004, and so on. So for every index here in the test case, for every index, whatever action is done, that will be mentioned in the logs. So it is easy for troubleshooting further. Right now, this test case seems to be so far okay. Now Chrome is closed, and now it is updating the result, right? Processing the report. And now if you see index 0015, clicking on page home dummy. So if you see here, page home dummy, yeah, click on the dummy element which does not exist. So it has failed on the index 0015. That is what is printed in the logs. It has, uh, 0015, it has failed. It will show you this exception also. And the same exception we have seen, it will be available in the Excel report, and also of course the screenshot. Okay. Now again test case 012 has started, and so the individual steps for that TC processor. So all the individual steps are started here. And then you have this particular test case which has finished. Test case end 03, right? Test case end 12 is here. Test case step 03 is ended. And yeah, test case execution for TC012. This is begin for 12 and end for 12, right? And so on. So ultimately the email will be sent. So email sending in progress and so on. So one thing to remember here is if you want to send email from your Gmail account, you need to enable a less secure app login. Okay, how to enable a less secure app login? You can just search on YouTube or Google. You will find there's a setting you need to do in the security setting in your Gmail. Right. So all these fixture processor items are coming here. Right. So demo wise, all the items are covered. Okay. Now let us come back to the original session. Now let us see let us revisit what are the different aspects and whatever we thought of for the KDD framework. Now Selenium support, of course, it is there. Browser screenshots, we have seen browser screenshot feature, code reusability. So now once the individual code is ready, so let us say when individual Selenium processor is ready, individual robot processor, JavaScript processor, now that can be reused any number of time. So that is code reusability, right? Error handling, exception recovery. So we have seen that for a particular step, let's say for the test case one, clicking on the dummy element, it has failed. But it has failed, that does not mean that it has not closed the browser. It has closed the browser, it has updated the result in an Excel, and it has sent that email also. So that is an exception handling, that is a error handling, exception recovery. So that is also taken care. Robust, so robust in the sense that exceptions are better handled in a better manner, and you are getting the report, and now the same thing you can run any number of time. We will come to this rerun of the failed test cases. Reporting, so we have seen the reporting, we have seen the Excel file where it is updating the result, and we have seen the report email is also sent. So report email is done. Selenium grid support. Now if you see here, in one of the config parameter, I have used the Selenium grid URL. So instead of invoking uh, the Chrome locally, you can set this grid URL. Of course, for this you need to actually set up a Selenium grid and use the Selenium grid URL properly here. So how to set up a Selenium grid and how to use it, I have a separate session. I would request you to go through that session, so that will be much more clear. Okay. Yeah, file handling. So now currently it is only Excel file handling, but then it can be easily extended in terms of handling PDF, XML, and JSON. So how that can be done is in the item processor, you can add one more processor called as file processor, and in the file processor, you can read the data from the different file itself. Right, database automation. So we have seen database handling for SQLite. In the one of the test case execution, it has taken the data from the database, the valid username and login. So if you see this example we have executed. Yeah, DB1. So test case 12, here it is getting the username and password from the SQL output. Okay, so we have seen that. I mean, we have seen how to execute a database query, and that output will be set as the variable value. Right, assertions. We have seen assertions on multiple places, so that is what we will be getting the exceptions in the report. A report email is sent. So after, basically after all fixture, in the after all fixture, there is a function, there is a method which will send an email. Modular or loosely coupled. So almost the reusability concept here. So anywhere, whatever functionality has to be run, I am using a class dot method name. So it's kind of a loosely coupled approach. Now, easy to understand. So once the automation framework is implemented, and once the basic understanding of this is done, then I mean that is very easy to understand. Why? Because everything is separate: test case, fixture, page object, config. So once the basic understanding is clear, then you can expand it, you can maintain it, you can enhance it as an everywhere you want. Okay, scalable. So now you see the scalability part here. Now that tomorrow, let's say your one of the page object has changed, right? Or you are adding one more page here. So now that is very easy. You just have to add the new section in the page object. You need to add some extra pages here, extra rows here, and it can be easily scaled. Now fixture also, you can add additional items here, so it can be easily scaled, or it can be easily descaled. In the test cases also, as and when you have the requirement, you enable the test case, or you add or remove the test step. So that is a better scalability. Okay, DevOps support. Now what is DevOps support here? So very simple. Now as this is a Maven based project, I can execute the Maven project using command line also. So what command I'll be using? So I'll be using a command called as mvn clean test, some environment name I need to pass, and the test case priority. So this is optional. I can use this one also. In fact, if you see, whenever I am running this as a JUnit, right, I am passing the two arguments here. So the same thing I'll be passing in the Maven. So let me just copy this thing and I will open a terminal. Okay, I'll open a terminal here and I will paste that command. And that's it. So uh, now this is a command line execution, basically a Maven framework execution. And whenever you want to execute this particular uh, automation using, let's say, Jenkins, then you just have to pass on this command in the Jenkins job. So that is how very simple way to support as a DevOps. Okay, I'll just run it so that it will run couple of test cases. Right, so I need to close this file first and execute again. So remember, you need to execute the Maven command on a folder where you have pom.xml file. So I hope you really like the course. So uh, please, uh, uh, please post some comments and let me know any feedback for improvement. So just a last point here, so further scope of expansion. So of course you can add additional items for API testing. You can add additional items for mobile testing, conditional execution. So if some test cases, if a particular step is pass or fail, so if pass then do this, if fail then do this. So this kind of additional things you can do as a conditional execution. You can call some subroutines, some custom functions for um, custom execution, intermediate step data passing. So from one step to another step, if you want to pass some data, that is possible using uh, that is also possible. So that can be a further scope of expansion. So I hope you really like the course. So please comment your feedback and let me know any points for improvement. So thank you.